and we was leaving our family.
Yep.
Alabama, Mississippi, and New Orleans into Texas. Right? Now that we starting to wake up from the slumber, we had to start studying the tribe that our ancestors said we was from. But some of us didn't tell us where we was from. Some of them just said we Indian, or we got Indian in our blood, like that, because they don't want us to get murdered for trying to reclaim the land without knowing exactly what's taking place, because the enemy look just like us, but they ain't us.
Exactly. Yeah. I was who, and we just got in that bit. Another one of them online fighting arguments. And then that led me to this live right here, and it exposed some more things for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the starter kit to activate more of your DNA on your tribe. Study the tribal customs and traditions, rituals, and all that stuff that you can get your hands on. And it's more of it written than you could possibly imagine. Right? But when you reviewing it, you have to go through your own filtration process, asking yourself all the time, is this how my people move? Then you think about your family, how your family move. Right? So now you matching the old up to the new. It's certain parts of our culture that they can't erase because of who we are.
Exactly.
A lot of it is our musical prowess and our propensity for dance. You know, so that's just the starter kit.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just a starter kit. All right.
Yeah. So
I've been taking my Antarctica.
I'm gonna take another call. Yep. So I don't have that much time on this one because I got something else to do shortly.
All right. I appreciate you, God.
All right.
Free.
See if they let her in. Okay. See if they let her in. Apparently Instagram don't like me bringing.
Peace and unity. How are you?
How you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing great. I'm having like a fantastic day, week.
That's always good.
Okay,
to
can
see.
you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, but that's awesome. How are you?
I'm good. So what's going on with you?
Shoot. Like on the real, or just like surface level conversation type stuff?
Wherever you want to go with it.
All right, cool. So like on the real, me and my friends, bruh, y'all always want to do this to me. Y'all always want to do that to me. Talk about, hold on a second. Nah, they said she about high. I'm not, bro, what? But no, I appreciate you. Ellie always has the cutest hairstyles. Thank you. But me and my friends have been on like very, very deep meditation and rituals and stuff like that. So literally whatever we're talking about and doing is manifesting darn near instantly. Literally today, we were figuring out a situation. We had a dilemma. So we were like, okay, let's hit this meditation. We have specific intentions that we've already charged a lot of energy behind, and we've used them consistently. So we use the meditation. Situation gets cleared up within minutes. And it's been like that for really months now.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that's coming in with the new energy is the accelerated manifestation of desires. You know, and if you're doing the rituals right, they have to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I say doing the rituals right, some people be like, you can't get nobody no rules. It's not rules. It's just the way that it work.
Right.
And they think it's a rule because if you do it the way that it work, they want to take process out of the process. You can't remove the process, right?
Exactly.
And the bigger the thing is, the longer it takes to manifest.
That's very true. Because it's like the minor situations, it like you said, like the minor situations, you just boop, they go away. Or minor manifested. Literally, I had manifested probably $250, almost $300 in the past week and a half. So after changing my mindset and realizing, like with my affirmations, right? With my affirmations, I had to make this a goal daily so that this is no longer like a big number to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I did that mentally and understood it to the fullest, is just manifestations happening immediately. So, you know, that's been
50% of manifestation is writing it down.
Okay.
That's half of it. That's half of it there, because what you did is you took it from the mental and brought it into 3D.
Great.
See, so now you got a jump start. That's like you get a motorcycle and you got to prime the engine because it's been in the garage. You got to get the gas going through the gas line first, right? So that's where writing it down is the primer to get it to flowing into the reality. Okay. Because you already created in the mental world. Because in order for you to write it down, you had to see it mentally.
Yes.
Right. Now, once you see it mentally, then you put it on paper. The next thing it is left, ain't nothing left but to see it physically. Right.
Exactly. And like the other amount, like, because what I do is for my rituals, I have checks that I write, and then, you know, I put the amount on it, then I burn it. So this is one of the check amounts. What? Do they got it paused for y'all? Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. They had it paused for me. And then the amounts just go higher and higher. So 15. Then we got 150. And these are for my friends. One is 175,000. And then the other one is 101,500. And so literally it's like, it's not just me doing it just to do it. It's sincerely, like, I do it for my friends. I do it for my YouTube subscribers. So I call my YouTube subscribers rainicorns. So I have written, literally my subscribers, I've written rainicorns 2 checks so far. And literally I did it. I didn't like do a whole video and be like, hey, you guys, I'm going to do this. It was like, hey guys, I did this thing. How are y'all feeling? Did you feel the results from it? And literally I had the check written and dated April 18th, and a whole bunch on the video commented and said, I actually did get money on April 18th. Yeah, I did get money and stuff like that. With all that going on, I'm just that, you know, my life's going well, and I'm making things better for other people too, and that everybody like around me has a great life. Like, I'm genuinely happy about that.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's that mother energy. Is you want all of your kids. You want all your children to have a good life. You don't want one of them to have a good life and the other one to have a bad life.
Right.
Right? You want all of them to have a good life. Now, some of them might be some assholes. They steal your babies, and you still want them to have a good life.
Hey, that's true. No, that's true. Like, literally, like you said with the child analogy, it's like that with people in general.
Music.
Yes. Okay.
White supremacy is codified and called the protocols of the wise men or the learned elders of Zion. And the rollout to it is the Morals and Dogma of Albert Pike. The battleground is the corporation known as the United States, the interim government for the last hurrah of the Great War.
Which is the Great War, which is
the 6,000-year reign of the people that was antithesis to Earth, the inverted people,
so
from
even,
the mirror universe.
So even when we the fifth root race they say is the Aryans. So even the Aryans, original Aryans, were melanated people then.
They still is. The original Aryans, they called them the Untouchables of India. They call them Dravidians. They look like the Jackson Fives from the early 70s. They whole bloodline. Some of them got wavy hair and they dark. Some of them darker than us. Rich, make me and you look light skinned.
Oh man, this is some. All right, so another term. You seen the video with Noble Ample, and he mentioned Abraham Lincoln. Now, people said he was a Melungian. That's not a term we hear about anymore. What are Melungians, Rod Hayes? And who were the Melungians?
See, there's so many different names. Yeah. It's hard to keep up with them. That one is not one we use a lot. Yeah, see, those was just another name for mixed people. People that come from a diversified genetic stock. It's like calling them a mutt.
Mulatto, like okay. The current term for that would be mulatto.
No, mulatto, you can be 50%, and you can look heavily melanated or lightly melanated and be a mulatto.
Right.
That means you have 50%. Right, to be a quadroon, meaning you 1/4. To be an octoroon, meaning you 1/8. But remember, the doctrine is 1 drop of blood. Right. So even if you 1/8, you still could classify as so-called black.
Yeah, you mentioned Elvis some earlier. Somebody said Elvis was Melungian. Would you classify him as Melungian, Elvis?
He would easily fall in it. That was the name given to the people that mixed in the Appalachians region.
Right. Indeed. Yeah, this is wow. I'm glad having this conversation with you. Let me ask you, in terms of when I think you called it the flash flood, or when the ice age.
Yeah, that was after the war. That was the nuclear winter after the last Anunnaki Great Holocaust War.
Okay, a time frame. We're looking at 10,000 years. 10,000 years ago, Rod.
Yeah, you can just look up the beginning of the last ice age to give you the time frame.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, so it lasted from about 115,000 to 11,700 years ago.
Damn, the ice age was that long, right?
Yeah.
So what the hell was going on the planet? If there's a whole ice age for 100,000 years, what's happening on the planet at that time?
It was a nuclear winter.
A nuclear winter. And okay, so this nuclear winter was caused by the Anunnaki.
It was caused by the last Anunnaki's war, what they call the Great Holocaust, also known as the Vimanis War. The Vimanis Sutras write about it. Those were the Aryan races in India who was writing about it back then, and they left the text to tell some of the story, but it was more than them that tell the story.
Damn.
They only give you bits and pieces, like in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah. They don't tell you that was a nuclear disaster.
Sodom and wow.
Then you got the remnants of nuclear war all over Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
You know, in the pyramid complex, the Mediterranean is filling in a crater from a bomb. Mount Vesuvius was blown because the crater began to leak into the inner earth, so they had to patch it with the lava from Mount Vesuvius.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the Gulf of America, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico, as a crater. That's not even a secret. They already know that's part of regular science. Meteor struck where the Mediterranean is, meteor, and what meteors? Those was atomic bombs.
Who was the Anunnaki beefing with at the
They
time?
fighting each other. They was having sibling rivalries in a fight for dominance within an internal family, and they used people like chess pieces to play the war out in the open, in the general population. So you got them controlling the war by nobody not knowing that the war is taking place. But the ultimate end game is to wake up from the slumber of the Piscean age in the artificially induced nuclear winter in order for us to come back to our senses as to who we were as eternal beings. We always been, we gonna always be, but we didn't always have bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Meat modems, Earth rovers.
Since we're so familiar with this vehicle, we call the Earth rovers. We done had some good shows about this vehicle we call the human body, right? I mean, we done did about 4 or 5 different segments on it, man, and just touched on it from different angles, man. It's been dope. What vehicle did we use before the human body, Rod?
We hold like when you're not in the physical body, you was called a whole light being. Or etheric being.
I thought you was gonna say something like dragons or some shit like that, Rod.
No, dragon is a metaphor, comparative analysis. It don't mean dragons didn't exist. But when you say we were dragons, that means we spit fire when we talk. We masters, we high chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Dragon mean master. Master with the power to control and speak into existence a thing was commonly referred to in Kemet as Husia, exceptional or authoritative utterance, exceptional insight.
Mm-hmm.
That make you a dragon.
Mm. Yeah, y'all. This is the man. So, all right. So when all right, the nuclear winter thing, that is a very interesting part of history that a lot of people don't know about. When the nuclear winter was coming to an end, and on Google it says the ice age ended around 11,000 years ago. What's the civilization that popped up on the scene? The first civilization once this nuclear ice age ended, Rod, this nuclear winter.
So Atlantis was still operational. It's just a lot of its metropolises had been rendered useless through warfare. Right? So now we coming from out of the ice age 11,000 years ago, and this is when you see the rise of Kemet. The onset of modern history, the settling of Samaria. Right? So all it is, like if you go back to the first dynastic period, that's not the first dynasty. They had kings lists with kings that lived and ruled for thousands of years because we was living back then. It was called the forever time, or the Tepi, I think is how you pronounce it. Right? The eternal time, the time where the physical body, if you had a proper diet, you could homeostasis set in, and you know how to maintain the balance, then your body could live for a prolonged time. And then you had the aid of secondary avatars to use too. While this one getting repaired in the sarcophagi, I could get up in another body and walk around like I ain't in there getting worked on.
Ain't that some shit? Yeah. So it's gonna go back to that, Rod?
We still had the technology. It was just frozen in Antarctica. They got it now.
They got the technology in Antarctica.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shit.
They
So,
thought them people out. They the ones telling them all of this, all the moves to make. They thought when Richard Burton went down to Antarctica to see what they was doing down there, he discovered that it was frozen over. It was flash froze. People was in the middle of the street. They never get to move. They walking down the street in motion and frozen. That means they was frozen instantly. Now they need to know how to thaw them out. This is where you get the cryostasis from. We ain't know nothing about no cryostasis until we got done messing with the people in Antarctica. They frozen and telepathic at the same time. Let that sink in.
Whoo. Yo, family, ain't this is some interesting? This is the history that is heavily suppressed.
Listen, when they thawed them out, they told us over here that these people came from Africa and adapted extremely well to the cold of the Antarctica. And they called them the Bazinga tribe. That's some BS. They was already in Antarctica, and they already told them how to thaw them out. They already had this technology. This is nothing new. Nothing new under the sun, Brother Rich. We did all of this stuff a bazillion times. But it was the same but different every time.
Right. The same but different every time. You know what I think is confusing, Rod? All right, so the shit you talking about, Rod, and I always be like, yo, Rod, you be saying some out of this world shit, Rod. And you talking about, nuclear winners and Anunnaki beings and people being able to use different avatars, different bodies. I think what's confusing to melanated people in particular, I think white people could gravitate, when I'm quote, white, black, they could grasp concepts easier sometimes because of their lack of, I guess, indoctrination. Like we were indoctrinated with religion. Everything is just evil to us. Everything is the devil to us. And
that's the barrier of fear.
Yeah. And but this is what I was gonna say. Some of our master teachers, Rod, like let's say Dr. Ben, let's say Dr. John Henry Clark. They didn't say the stuff you saying. So when you come after them, right? And I'm not even talking about Dr. York now. Let's just say Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark. When you come after them and say this stuff, the first thing people think is, well, hey, the master teachers, Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, so on and so forth. They didn't say it. So this dude has got to be out his MFM mind because they didn't say it. So my thing is like, why you think they didn't talk about some of this stuff?
A lot of the stuff I'm talking about, they make mention of.
Okay.
Right. When we starting at history beginning, modern history, right, at the first dynasty of Egypt. That's when we got the first clock of modern time.
Dynasty of Egypt.
Right. So, because this is the standard of history. Anything before that is called antediluvian history.
Antediluvian. Yeah.
Which means before the flood.
Right.
Which means when the ice finally melted from the artificially induced nuclear winter, the melting of the ice caused mud to be everywhere. It wasn't a literal flood; it was frozen.
So it wasn't a literal flood like how we think it was.
No, everything was frozen, and then when the nuclear winter, it can't break until it cleaned the radiation up enough. This is what switches your genetics, by the way. Radiation is what causes an unnatural change in DNA. And this is what caused us to go from magnesium-based to iron-based. Because we was originally breathing ozone, the double O oxygen molecule. Now we breathe in the single oxygen molecule. So it changes the rate of combustion in the biology. When we using magnesium, right, we giving off radiant shades of blue and green. We look like that movie, The Avatar, except we not tall. With tails, we standing around with blue skin and afros, blue skin and straighty hair. But we all had shades of blue to green. This is why you see that Osiris is olive green. You see Krishna is baby blue. Sometimes he navy blue. Kylie Mine, she's blue, almost black. So the different shades, because it's mixing with the melanin. The plants still use the dominant magnesium. That's why they have chlorophyll instead of blood. Right? In the plant blood, chlorophyll can clean your human blood. Right? So this is where we get to taking out the sea moss and the sour sop and all that. That's because the nutrition in the plant's chlorophyll have all of the frequencies to correct the anomalies in the genetics of the blood-based human. Because it remembers, it can communicate with the DNA going back to before we switched from magnesium to iron, going from shades of blue to shades of wheat.
So, Rod, so if we, we went from magnesium to iron, the air was different. You said we went from breathing magnesium to breathing oxygen, you saying, right?
No, that's the base metal of the body.
Okay.
It's the metal that causes us to turn brown with our melanin now instead of green.
Okay, is the
that's
iron.
the iron.
The iron.
The magnesium is when we used to be green. Right. Today, when the baby's born with the green patch on them or the heavy melanin, magnesium concentration, because they go through it in the womb. All stages of human evolution is gone through in the womb for 9 months before the baby is born.
Right.
And it's a period of time where the baby in the womb is either pale gray or some shade of green. They call it the Mongolian spots. But if you remember, they're going from magnesium-based to copper-based because mama's DNA said in order to survive in this oxygen ratio to carbon, you have to be able to process faster than the magnesium. So the iron is going to replace it. Then the baby switches over in his DNA structure in order to facilitate iron as opposed to magnesium. So now the skin begins to go from them shades of green to shades of brown as the baby assimilates the iron and it puts the magnesium as the support metal. Like you can't process none of the metals in the body without the magnesium.
So, Rod, if we're going back to the golden age, are we also going to go back to how we look during the golden age and go from brown back to being green because that was our original color?
Not necessarily. It depends on what Mother Earth do with the atmosphere. Right. If she turned the temperature up, we might go to shades of orange and red. Which would mean that she's replacing it with probably another trace metal that tarnishes red, like it might be silver or something.
Right.
It has a red tint to the. So we come from shades of orange and red. This is why skin-based racism is so weird to old souls. Old souls looking at it like that's the dumbest thing I ever seen in my life. But the ones who was the new souls, the ones who had the Iceman inheritance that suffered from the psychopathic racial personality, they the ones who had to go through the catharsis of being a piece of trash to other people so that they can internalize the suffering so that they can learn to have compassion. We're looking at conditions of the newest addition to the human family, burning off their bad karma, and we build up pre-karma as a side effect.
Wow. Damn, Ron.
And when the last become first, that's when we all rich.
Right. Let's go to Antarctica, Rod. We always hear about Antarctica when we, when we go deep in ancient times. A lot of us marvel at the pyramids in Egypt. What pyramids are at the bottom in the water in Antarctica? What civilization?
They got them on land and in the water. That was one of the biggest metropolises during the age of the Atlantic. We didn't call it Atlantis, we called it the Atlantic.
Why?
That was the name of it. And then you had cities like Undal and Untal, right? So the city that's became known as the hidden lands, the Amenti. Amenti means the hidden land, the unknown lands. The unknown lands is talking about that thin place between spiritual and physical, where people keep seeing this infinite plane. Because they're looking at the full spectrum of the timeline from outside the timeline, so they think it's an infinite plane, but we really in the torsion field.
Right.
The bottom or the top of the torsion field is the stem of the apple that we would call Antarctica. But it's a hole down there that takes you into the inner Earth. There's one in the North Pole too. That's how you know we live in the torsion field. But when we go into our awakening, we see the infinite plane, and we know what we've seen with our spiritual eye is more dependable than the physical eye. So the ones of us that believe it's flat, they convinced to that because they seen the probability spectrum and timeline, and they can see it as an infinite plane in their spiritual senses. So their spiritual senses is more important than their physical senses is to them. They would rather be spiritually in tune than to be educated by the world around them.
Somebody said Superman spaceship crashed in Antarctica.
It depends on which one of the parts of it you're watching, because some of them have it in the North Pole. Right? But it's still in the icy climate. It's a crystal castle. If you pay attention to it, it's a crystal castle. Right? And it's in the cold climate. That's the castle of the princess of the North, the Notre Dame. The Dame of the North. Who is the Dame of the North? She's the princess where the ice is. She's the ice princess. When she get ready to be crowned queen, she becomes Isis, the embodiment of full divine feminine. It's all part of the mapping ancient history in order to restore back Earth to the original people. It's the perpetual process of redemption. And that's why they always talking about crucified saviors, because we was under a blood oath contract